Okay, so on Friday we talked about special right triangles that had angles that measured 30 degrees, 60 degrees, and 90 degrees, and we looked at the pattern that resulted at the side lengths for a 30, 60, 90 degree triangle. Today we're going to still look at special right triangles, but instead of 30 degrees and 60 degrees, what are my other two degrees?
45, 45.
45 and 45, which actually makes this a lot easier than Friday. So if you're like, yay, Friday is easy, I get the pattern. Today is even easier than Friday.
Oh, let's go.
Okay, then let's go. All right, so where do we get a 45, 45, 90 from? Okay, it comes from dividing a square along its diagonal, because hopefully you remember that squares not only have 90-degree angles, that just makes them a rectangle, but what else do they need to have to be a square?
Equal sides.
Equal sides. So on all my sides here, I can say equals, 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 equals. They are pretty thick. All right, and so then, if I look at my angles, okay, what do you think is going to happen right here?
They have.
They half. So if the whole angle is 90, how big is each side? How big is that? 45. So this is 45 and this is 45. The same thing happens at the other corner. It gets divided also in half, 45 and 45. Oops, I forgot my 4. Okay, so when you look at that, you should be able to tell that one triangle goes here and one triangle goes here. And then each of those triangles has a leg. And then because my two sides are matching, remember we put these tick marks on here? That means instead of having a short leg and a long leg, these just have two congruent legs. They're the same length. Leg and leg. So we don't have to identify them as short and long, we just call them legs because they're the same length. And then you still have your hypotenuse right here. And here. Okay, so that's where we get our 45, 45, 90s from. They're half of a square that's been cut along the diagonal. Just like our 30, 60, 90 was half of an equilateral triangle cut along its altitude. Okay? All right, so let's look at the pattern. You can see the pattern there in the bottom, but to just kind of see where it comes from, we know that our two sides are going to be the same. So if one is x, then that means the other is also x. So this x is representing one of my legs. This is representing the other leg. So what do you think the x squared root of 2 is representing?
Hypotenuse.
It's representing the hypotenuse. Now, to see that that's what you really get, your hypotenuse, remember we learned a shortcut if you're missing a hypotenuse and you have the other two sides. Inside your square root, do you add or subtract?
Add.
Add, and then the two sides that I have are both x, so it's going to be x squared and x squared. What is x squared plus x squared? 2x squared. Yeah, so my hypotenuse now is 2x, the square root of 2 times x squared. Remember last Thursday when we simplified square roots? If I look at that 2, I can't simplify that anymore. But this x squared, can I take the square root of x squared?
Yes.
Yes, when it comes out of the square root, what is the square root of x squared?
X.
It's just an x. So what do I have on the outside? X. Square roots of what's still left on the inside? 2. Look at your pattern. What did I say the hypotenuse was? Oh. So that's showing you where it comes from. It's always the same. So if I know one of my legs is 5, what's the other one? 5. So it's 5, 5, and what's my hypotenuse? 5 square roots of 2. What if one leg is 7, what's the other leg? So it's 7, 7, and my hypotenuse is 7 square roots of 2. Okay, so let's practice this. So here, every time they've given me a leg, my first leg is 8. So what's my other leg? 8. What's my hypotenuse?
8 square roots.
8 square roots of 2. Okay. The next one leg is 11. What's the other leg?
11.
11. What's my hypotenuse? 11 square roots of 2. So really simple, right? And we're not multiplying them in because we don't want decimals. The only decimals you're allowed to give me are if you divide in half or something, so you give me a 0.5. That's it. All right, now here it's a little bit different because one leg is 10 square root of 2, which means the other leg is 10 square roots of 2. But then remember, for your hypotenuse, I'm supposed to do the leg, and then I'm supposed to multiply it by a square root of 2.
Wait, is it
20.
10 square roots of 4, which is 10 times 2, which is
20.
20. You got it. So some of us can kind of skip all those little steps. If you need to write them all down, you can. You can say, well, that's 10 square roots of 4. Square root of 4 is 2, so that's 10 times 2, which is 20. Okay. The 2 and 2 just cancel each other out. That's how you end up 10 times 2. Okay? All right, so the next one, I've got 18 square root of 2 is one of my legs. So what's the other leg? 18 square roots of 2. What's my hypotenuse? 36, because it's going to be 18 square roots of 2, the leg, times another square root of 2, which is 18 times 2, 36. Questions? Okay. All right, so let's practice this a couple more times. So if one leg is 27, what's the other leg? 27. What's my hypotenuse? 27 square roots of 2. If one leg is 24 square roots of 2, what's the other leg? 24 square roots of 2. What's my hypotenuse? 48. Do I need to write out the work? No? Okay. If one leg is 10, what's the other leg? 10. What's the hypotenuse? 10 square roots of 2. Uh-oh. This is not a typo, I promise. If one leg is 10 square roots of 3, what's the other leg? Or sorry, 15 square roots of 3. 15 square roots of 3. What's my hypotenuse?
15 square roots of 6.
Good. 15 square roots of 3 is my leg, and I'm supposed to multiply that by a square root of 2. So that's 15 square roots of 6. Very good. Okay. All right. So that's pretty much all it is. And then the next section just has us working backwards because we're going to start with the hypotenuse instead of legs. So if my hypotenuse is 5 square roots of 2, what were my two legs? 5 and 5. If my hypotenuse was 13 square roots of 2, what were my two legs? 13. Okay. If my hypotenuse is just a plain old 14, what were my legs? 7 square roots of 2. Oops, I forgot the 7. All right, and then the last one, if my hypotenuse is 18, what's my legs?
9 square roots of 2.
9 square roots of 2. Okay. My hypotenuse is 24 square roots of 2. What are my legs? 24. My hypotenuse is 8. What were my legs? 4 square roots of 2. My hypotenuse is 10. What are my two legs? 5 square roots of 2. My hypotenuse is 18 square roots of 2. What were my legs? 18. Ooh.
Wow.
Okay, any questions on any of those? Right.